This module is an introduction to evaluation methods or design. Evaluation is essentially the use of research to answer questions about a program, policy, or other intervention with the goal of informing decision-making. Not surprisingly then, we generally use standard research methods and designs in carrying out evaluation. You might conduct an outcome evaluation, for example, using the classic experimental design in which you compare change over time for two equivalent groups generated through random assignment, one of which receives the program being evaluated and one of which does not. Or you might use classic qualitative research methods like focus groups, semi-structured interviews, or observation to understand implementation processes or outcomes. While we generally use standard research methods in evaluation, we weigh the considerations behind our choice of methods differently when designing evaluation and when designing research. That's because of the differing purposes of the two endeavors. The goal of research is to create generalizable knowledge. The goal of evaluation is to generate information that will help us make decisions about a specific program. That means, for example, that timeliness is usually a greater consideration in choosing evaluation design than in choosing research design. If a decision about a program needs to be made in 6 months, the evaluator does not have the luxury of choosing methods that will take a year to carry out. Another consideration that is usually a higher priority in evaluation design than in research is the potential negative consequences of denying treatment to a control group, the standard procedure in true experimental design. To understand this, we should briefly review the logic of experimental design. Research and evaluators alike want to be able to say with confidence that they have established a link between cause and effect in their study, and that there isn't some variable besides the cause they're studying that's bringing about the observed effect. That ability to establish a link between cause and effect is called internal validity. Experimental design aims to increase internal validity by making the control and intervention groups as similar as possible with the exception of one thing, the interjection of the intervention or cause into the intervention group. So researchers tend to favor true experiments because they increase internal validity. However, denying treatment to a control group can damage the reputation of a program, or program administrators may not be willing to deny treatment because they're pretty sure that their program is better than doing nothing for their clients. Sometimes then, an evaluator will weigh the need to protect a program and its clients against the desire for scientific rigor and choose study methods that do not involve a true control group. I want to be clear here that evaluators and researchers need to take into consideration the same criteria when designing their inquiries: internal validity, timeliness, ethics, available resources, feasibility, and so forth. What's different is the weight given to these criteria when making design decisions. That weight will even vary from study to study and evaluation to evaluation. But generally speaking, because evaluation is done at the service of a program, programmatic needs must carry great weight. Interestingly, since research is meant to be generalizable, we would expect that generalizability, also called external validity, would be a particularly important consideration in research design. Yet some scholars argue that the enormous weight given to internal validity in research has led to the creation of experimental conditions that do not approximate the real world, thereby greatly limiting the external validity of study results. At the same time, perhaps because evaluators are so aware that they're studying one program in a limited set of contexts, they're often quite attuned to the role that context plays in their evaluation results and can provide good information about the conditions under which their findings are generalizable. While evaluations generally use standard research methodologies, there are data collection methods that have been developed specifically for evaluation purposes. For example, the H-form was developed by Susan Guy and Andrew Inglis as a means of facilitating participatory planning, monitoring, and evaluation. In the application shown here, clients of a program have been asked to rate how well that program is serving them by placing their mark on a line representing the possible range of responses, from not at all well on one end to extremely well on another. They've also been asked to use Post-it notes to provide the reasons for the ratings. The facilitator uses these ratings and comments as the starting point for a discussion, eliciting further information on participant feelings about the program, as well as ideas about how it might be improved. The H-form could certainly be used in research as well as evaluation, but a number of characteristics make it particularly suitable for evaluation. These characteristics include the focus on a specific program or intervention and how it's working for one particular group of people in one particular context. The concern for stakeholder perception of program performance, not just the outcomes defined as important by a researcher. The attention to program improvement as well as perceived outcomes. And the fact that this method generates a lot of different kinds of information quickly and with a modest expenditure of resources. The H-form is just one example of methods that have been developed specifically for evaluation purposes. You can learn more about such methods by browsing evaluation journals and texts, and of course on the internet. We've provided you with a list of resources you can start with.